Hey, you drifter, dreamer, wanderer on the ether. I thought it was high time that we do ourselves a little next 72 hours portal report just to see what the collective energy in play is. Things are getting interesting. I'm sure you're starting to feel it building in the atmosphere. We're 9 days away from that Scorpio full moon that's going to come in on the 12th. And when that goes down, we know the next day we got an epiphany at hand. So I thought, let's just dip our toes in that sea of absurdity and see what we discover there, shall we? Okay. Do be mindful that though I'm putting a 72-hour bracket around it, in no way does that contain the limitless possibility of what's hinted at in this download. Time is happening, past, present, future, all simultaneously. And it's just a belief construct, man. So don't get your consciousness stuck in a box. But what you do want to be aware of is just paying attention. Paying attention over the next 72 hours. That's when you're going to see a lot of signs of sort of what's blowing in the wind coming through for you. And we're going to dive right into it with some arcane BS because I'm feeling the vibe, man. And let's see what we got here, okay? We got the rat trout, okay? So, yes, you're in a state of transfiguration. You're learning to flow in that sea of absurdity in a whole new way. You're embracing being at a place where you're sort of betwixt and between, neither here nor there. And yet you're finding an odd sense of comfort in this state of not really having anything quite fixed yet. You know where you're heading. You're heading for the sweetness of the bloom. You know that well because you've done some pruning recently. I feel like you're very shrewd. You know how to get where you want to go. You want to reach that promised land, whatever that promised land represents to you, and you'll certainly arrive there. You will. You know, the rat was the first to greet the Buddha. Maybe people underestimate you. Maybe people sort of look down their nose at you. People have certain judgments of you. Don't think you're capable of pulling something off, but you are quite clever. And for you, life is about to be a smorgasbord, okay? And you're going to sample all you can at that carnival of delights. All right, interesting energy coming in. You might be hearing about a carnival coming to town. There could be some kind of themes coming in around the carnival. I'm thinking like fun house vibes. I'm thinking about mirrors, fun house mirrors, distortions, you know. It's like your reflection is in flux, it's shifting by the minute. And as it is, you're also seeing others very differently. That happens, you know, as we polish the mirror. You know, what we have reflected back at us is quite different. And it can maybe in some cases spark some laughter, spark some humor. Maybe that's a little bit of a key. It doesn't have to be so scary. Don't take it all so serious, man. Interesting. Yeah, I got those kind of fun house vibes. I'm not sure where that's coming from. What's that about? But let's get some more details about this. Interesting energy. Well, it could be killer clowns from outer space, man, with old Aunt Brenda here. This action's been going on for a while. Be careful if you see any spaceships coming down. I don't know, you know, if you got a sweet tooth, you might want to be aware of, you know, indulging in the cotton candy there, lest you end up in predicament. This is a case though where somebody is really wanting to have control in a situation, and this needs to be transformed. Somebody has been, you know, taking advantage of draining someone's energy for far too long. And this person is about to experience the final round of them being in that position. I feel like time's just about up on this, okay? What is this? What's going on here? You might even receive like some kind of message from this person, sort of trying to exert some kind of control. This could come through a notification online, some kind of message. Yeah, interesting. I think you're sort of like anticipating this and you're prepared. You already know how you're going to deal with this. You already know how you're going to sort of like keep that flow going. I do feel like with the surf and chimp here, you are hanging loose. You've already faced like some kind of tower in your life, so you become quite familiar with rough seas and sort of how to ride those big swells. And I do feel like, you've learned how to kind of move in this territory. And perhaps it's a territory that for many people would feel a little destabilizing. Like most people, they could get some kind of message coming at them like this, where somebody's really trying to like throw their weight around or exert some kind of outside control. And they could really get washed out to sea with that, get all like cornered into it emotionally, get all stirred up, riled up. But actually, that's the very thing that will make you capsize. And you've learned sort of how to stay in this place and just riding it out. You understand the ebbs and the flows of the energy. You're familiar with being out there surfing on the Zavuya. So when you are able to sort of operate within the center point of very polarized extremes, you learn how to find the way through. And I think part of what you're discovering here is it's your mystery that puts you in a position of power. Because if you're not giving some kind of reaction to this, then nobody has a clue what you're about to do. And I also feel like nobody has a clue what you really have your sights set on either here. And whatever you have your sights set on, it is the thing that's going to bring some kind of fulfillment, happiness in your life. But you've learned over time, it's better to kind of like cloak your energy. It's better to not let your intentions be known. It's better to learn how to simply surf those waves when they do come, rather than get washed out to sea by them. And because of that, because people look at you and maybe think you're a little unassuming here, they don't actually realize the power that you are working with or will be very shortly. Because I do feel like there's something coming in here for you that is going to be an activating point. It puts you in a position of power in a situation. But there's something about having a little fun with this. Whoever this character is, it's almost like they want to whip you up into this real state of, I don't know why I got this almost like urgency, emergency. And all I have to say is that there's something about levity and humor in this case. It's going to be the best banisher of this function. Okay, so be aware of that. There's something here where, the more that you can just take it lightly, because that's all it is. It's almost like the person who's exerting this control, they're trying to come off like they're real powerful, that they're in this real strong position here. But actually, they're actually in a very weak position. They need your reaction. They need that mana. They need you to be riled up. They need you to fuel, their fire with your investment in this idea that they have some kind of control or power. It's like as soon as you recognize that, then, you hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, because that ain't what you're about. Oh, look at that. Beefcake. you're like, I've dealt with this kind of stuff time and time again. I eat demons for breakfast and I shit them out the next day. You know what I'm saying? It's like, there's something here where it's like, oh, you got your eyes on me. You got the eyes on the prize. Well, I got vision too. And I already know where my fulfillment lies. And it's all about to pour into me. And I have a clear view of where I'm going here. And this looks like a pretty strong position. Strong position here. Wide open. Wide open. See, you're very fearlessly like wide open right now. Just chilling out, surfing the waves, hanging loose. Already dealt with the tower. Whatever it leveled, it made you sort of feel like, well, that's the worst of it. Once you've dealt with a leveling like that, it makes you kind of impenetrable. Imperceptible as well. 11:11 on the clock. You know, people underestimate that. The way a big crisis in your life or something really heavy you go through, the way it strengthens you, you know, takes a lot more to shake you these days. A lot more to shake you these days. But you ain't flaccid here. You know what I'm saying? You're ready. Bring it on. Let's impregnate the new world, man. And there is something that's going to pour into you here, like the miraculous chalice, 11:44 on the clock. You're about to come into alignment with the vision of your path of fulfillment, what that looks like, how to take the first step to bring it into being. And there's something here that's like a real negative force that's been operating in your life, maybe even something that's led to many endings, but you had to kind of like tussle with this energy for a while. And I just see you just like devouring it. That's the image I got, just devouring it and shitting it out. It's like done, dusted. End the cycle. We're going to use that shit. We're going to use it to make the flowers grow. That's kind of how it's coming through. And you're not feeling like you're in a weakened position here. I don't see that you are actually like even susceptible to having whatever this attempt at exerting some force over your choices is concerned. I mean, you're almost like, come on, hit me with your best shot. Fire away, man. You're like wide open. You're like, I ain't got nothing to hide. You know? But you do. But you do, Maze Face. You do. And what you're trying to hide is that you really don't have an effing clue about what I'm about to do. And that makes you feel very destabilized. But the destabilization, it has nothing to do with what I'm going to do. It has to do with you not being concerned about what are you going to do. This is very weird energy, but it is the energy that's out there. I have to tell you, man, this effing guy just won't let it rest. This effing guy just won't let it rest, you know? Walks around, carries a big stick, you know? It's a really outdated energy, you know? It's a really outdated energy. You're like, well, you know what? I got a big stick too. I can hit it out of the park, man. Fire away. I think you're going to be able to hit a home run. But see, this is sort of like what I'm talking about. It's like you've been through so much stuff that you've become rather stoic. You become rather relentless. The Tao of relentlessness has opened up for you. You can find a way. You can find any way. You know ways as well. Also, I get this like in spiritual realm, you know ways as well. That others don't know. You can get to certain spaces, places, destinations through very, very challenging means. Challenging in that it's not easy for others to follow you where you go. It takes a certain tenacity. It takes a certain resilience. It takes a certain goatishness that can only be developed when you've been just ground down to nothing so many times that you're like, hey, man, I got nothing left to lose. All I know is I've had to face a lot, and I can always get where I need to go, no matter what comes at me. I've been at this a long time. Now I just know how to just, hang loose. Let the wave carry me where I'm going. Let that big tsunami that comes in that's supposed to be the wake up call just come in and carry me all the way to that distant shore. I don't need to struggle. I don't need to tread water. I don't need to get capsized. I don't need to end up on a remote island all by myself, searching for the promise of a rescue. I got my board, and I'm going to ride this shit out. Yeah. See, this is the thing. It's like, you've been tempered, man. Hang in there. You've been tempered. You've been tempered. There's times when you've had to be like the hangman, and you were held to the fire, and it transformed you. You're currently in this process. You're just about all the way through. You really have had to go through the fire. You've had to be pushed to your limit in some cases. You've had to really see certain truths. And it's only through that you're able to step into your empowerment. But there is something that's being completely transmuted here. And it's an old version of yourself. Something is currently going through a major transition here, just as far as your identity is concerned, how you see yourself, how others see you, as well as how you see others once you go through this change. And this could be part of the reason why maybe you're encountering a lot of people that you used to really know where they stood, but now you're like, what's up with you? Are you for me or are you against me? And what that's related to is this state of flux, this state of becoming, where everybody's kind of in this liminal space, and they're trying to get out from all that time of sort of contemplating the navel, going deeply into the center of the self, searching for the meaning of life. Who am I? Why am I here? And the absurdity of it all is that you really embrace why you're here when you embrace meaninglessness. Sit with that a little bit. Embrace meaninglessness. When you embrace meaninglessness, when you strip away all the identification, when you strip away all the labels, you just get to the heart of the pure energy of existence. And that's a liberating force. That's like the headless goddess laughing. We can get lost, and we can end up missing the mark when we're so actively searching for meaning. It's once you accept meaninglessness, the absurdity, the inability to truly define the purpose of your life, that you actually step into it. There's something along these lines coming in. There's something that's going to be illuminated for you. It may even be like by a tricky element that comes in, or a tricky situation. It could be a certain devil that holds you to that fire, because for some reason with this, it's making me think of the devil card in the traditional like Rider-Waite imagery of the tarot. And in fact, isn't that so fitting? I talk about the devil card, and who do we got on the bottom of this deck? We got the Hierophant. Just saying, who created the devil in the first place there? But anyway, let me go ahead and fish out this devil card, because I want to show you something. It's so funny. I was talking about that, Who invented the devil anyway? And here's like temperance, the temperance angel in reverse. So many fallen angels, so many fallen from grace. But a grace that was defined by who? That's kind of how it's coming through, I have to say. All right. I want to show this because then you'll smell what I'm stepping in here with what I'm talking about with this devil that's holding you to the fire. Think of the devil as being synonymous with like trickster energy, okay? Yes. You see this right here? How the devil is holding that torch down, illuminating something below. It's like you're the devil's torch right now. That's how it's coming through. It's to go through a certain kind of clarity, of vision, of awareness that what you normally place outside yourself as being a sort of like binding influence or oppressing influence or a power that has some kind of control over you that keeps you restrained is actually coming from parts of you that have not been brought into the light of your conscious awareness so you could transform them, so they could go through a transfiguration, so you can shape shift into the recognition that you step into power in the world and you see the kind of reality reflected back to you when you take control and charge of the lower natures of yourself. And there's some experience you're having here that is really making this clear to you. And it has something to do with a message coming in or some source of provocation and your ability to ride that out in a way that perhaps you wouldn't have before. Maybe before you would have been, ooh, yeah, now that's what you're throwing away. I see that. Maybe before you would have been in a position where you would have been like ready for a battle. And that's what's been making you so weary on your path. But I feel like you're tossing that aside because where you felt a certain division within your consciousness here between different aspects of yourself, to me, it feels like the shadow, the light, and finding the merging point where the two meet. You're coming to this place of synergy and healing that's giving you elevation here, elevation in consciousness that's allowing you to rise up out of what had power over you in the past. But it's like old Scratch is like holding you to the fire. You're his torch right now. He's trying to show you something here. Show you something here that has been, shown to you many times through arrows slung at you, through difficulties you've been facing, through challenges you've been facing. And now, times of the essence here. Time is of the essence, and there's something here where you got to get back some time here that's been lost contemplating your navel, searching for meaning when the meaning is already here. It's here in not having to define it with any sort of meaning, but experiencing your life more organically, more spontaneously. There's a purity in that. There's a simplicity in that that's very empowering, that's not static, that has you entering the flow, that can have you riding the biggest waves. This is, that message coming in. In the past, it would have wounded you. In the past, you would have felt martyred by this. That's not the case. You're not going to be hung up anymore. It's like you're riding it out in a new way here. Something is being transformed. The reptilian brain that's just more focused on nothing but sheer survival is being transformed to move more into a state of playfulness around it, being more in the moment with it, not one day at a time, just one moment at a time, one fresh moment at a time. And when you enter that stream of consciousness, there is nothing but hanging loose. This effortless flow. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? So long. Thanks for all the fish. Woo, yeah. It comes out again though, You had that beefcake. See, this is what's on offer for you. If you master this test, allow you to see the way you've been working with a little bit of that Wile E. Coyote super genius medicine here. While you've been hot on the tail of the road runner, see that road runner as that elusive golden carrot, that thing that's always been dangling out of reach. And you've tried through very more egoic-based ways to achieve your means before. You've tried all kinds of things. You've been facing off what maybe you viewed as an opponent. And in a way, that's sort of like investing in a whole lot of meaningless garbage. The super genius is in letting the roadrunner do what the roadrunner's going to do, because that's not the road that you're on here. And when you figure it out, look at that. Here comes the gravy funnel. Here comes the gravy train. And there's something that's protected here for you. There's some kind of alignment that's coming in here for you. But it's because you're not letting these forces of doom and gloom weigh you down. There's something here that, it's okay. When we talk about ego, there's ego that can work against you, and then there's ego that can work for you. I feel like there's something that happens here, okay, where you're getting a little boost. You're getting a little boost. Once you face off with this energy, then maybe it could be somebody that had the power to kind of rile you before, or a type of situation that normally would have unsettled you before. But there's something about this message and just the way you handle it, the way you handle this situation, it makes you feel a little cocky. There's nothing wrong with just a little bit of cockiness, okay? It's good for you at this time, okay? It's good for you at this time. And I think you deserve to crow a little bit. You do. You deserve to crow a little bit because you've been through some pretty heavy duty stuff here. And it looks like you're getting to the other side of it, whatever's been happening here. Yeah, there's something you're cleansing away here. There's something you're cleansing away here. I feel like, you've probably had a lot of eyes on you that have been casting certain projections your way, but you also have to understand that part of that is also generated by your own vision. It's all a mirror. So this is also about clearing your vision out here, seeing things in a new way. I think you will, after you've gone through this process of realizing that you've been searching for something pointlessly. It's absurdity. You're searching for meaning when it's not meant to be searched for. It's just meant to be lived. It's meant to be lived spontaneously. That's what gives our life meaning. Not when we try to define it, not when we have, set plans in play, but when we're just really open to the experience and where we view all of it as significant, all of it has meaning in every moment. It's not nonsense. It's not nonsense because everything that we're experiencing really is not an ordinary moment. It's rather extraordinary. And within each moment, we get the ability to truly exercise our power, which is the power of our free will and how we choose to respond with the stimulus that's coming our way. And once we really get that, and we're centered in that place, then we can bend reality. We can shape shift reality. We can see it happen in real time. And that'll blow your mind, man. And some of you may be having that kind of experience, like there's something you're mastering here. And it's bringing some kind of reward. some kind of reward that you've earned through making it through a pretty gnarly obstacle course. It looks like there's some blessing coming in here. Let me do a kind of the deck and see what we got here. Robo Dodo. Okay, so here's that message that's going to come in. All right, meant to destabilize you with the inverted squirrel, make you feel, like you're all of a sudden back where you've been before in a destabilized position. Somebody has been doing surveillance here. They've been keeping an eye on you, but there's also something about you keeping an eye on this situation too, just by sort of like holding space for it in your consciousness. That might be a truth you need to be aware of here. Because if you're keeping too much of an eye on that, it's sort of like, here's the absurdity, right? You're taking all your energy and your focus and you're directing it toward this silliness. And that's an ineffective way to use your power. It's a way that kind of keeps you caught up in the game. And when you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. It's like, the mouse falls away. I'm the seed of my own deaths, of these endings I've been experiencing in my life, because I've been taking all this creative life force energy and I've been focusing it on this nonsense. I'm this fool over here who's like trying to cause a stir, trying to get me riled up and draw in my attention with their sales pitch, with what they're selling over here. And I'm buying it. I'm buying into it by fixating on that. That's what's wasting my time here. That's what's wasting my time. You'll see it when you get the call, how you have a choice. And you have an opportunity to make a different choice here. Whatever it is, man, it's a game changer. This is an opportunity to master the hunt. I feel like if you master this, you do experience some transformation. Looks like it brings some kind of reward your way. You got a main line to the gravy funnel there, so that looks pretty good. Something to crow about, makes you feel like you can puff up your chest a little bit. Nothing wrong with having a little moment like that. I don't care what people say. Sometimes you gotta let yourself have that, especially if you've been down for a long time, right? Don't let anybody take that away from you, right? It's okay to strut a little bit. You've earned it, all right? You've earned it. I would say where you've been dealing with situations where you've had people, poking their nose where it doesn't belong. It's just, continue to be cryptic. Continue to be the void. It's good. It's good. You don't need to let people have access to parts of you that are very intimate or that, well, quite frankly, don't concern them because they're not involved in it. I think that that's good. And I think that by you kind of taking a different stance here, what I'm also getting is that those who've been kind of like paying too close of attention to what you got going on, and maybe even in some cases crossing some boundary lines, are going to have to kind of confront, the truth of their actions within themselves and, how they're kind of wasting their time too. But I do feel like there's a little bit of mutuality there. Like at times, you may have had a tendency to sort of feel like you were being punished or, you were being martyred or victimized here. And this is about, no, you're the master of your own time. You're the master of your own time. You're the master of your own energy, how you direct it, how you use it, okay? And we've all been at this place before where we've had to recognize that we were part of generating the BS in our life. But the good thing about BS is it's just belief systems. And they can all be changed. They can all be shifted. And that's pretty empowering when you recognize that, right? So keep that in mind here. I'm going to just do one round of cartomancy here. I'm really curious anything else that wants to come through around this. We got an ace of clubs here. So look, You're getting some power put in your hands. It's a little bit of a tricky situation because I think what I'm kind of getting here is that not only do you get this message coming through, right? It's like some message coming through, and it's something that's supposed to kind of like poke and prod you to a state of provocation. Maybe in the past you would have bought this like hook, line, and sinker. They would have been able to reel you in. You would have gotten combative. You would have gotten reactive, and then the next thing you know, you find yourself in the middle of a drama. You could take the bait. You've done it before, and then you take the bait. You knew what you were getting into. You don't listen to your own wise counsel. You ignore the red flags. You take the bait, and then the next thing you know, you feel like, woe is me. Everybody's against me. I've been put in this position, but you chose to be in energetic agreement with it. You went against your own best judgment in these situations. But now it's like, okay, you've been through some stuff. You've had to be pretty relentless here. You may have had a lot of stuff coming your way, one thing after another. But you're starting to recognize that for all the time you've tried to figure things out, for all the time you've tried to get answers, that in some ways that's been a little bit of the hook. It's been the thing that's kept you attached to an energy that you're ready to like be over already, move beyond already. The only thing that's tethered you there is your need to define it, your need to have it have some kind of meaning in your life, or your need for answers in that situation. And in some cases, somebody could be kind of playing that role to keep you hooked too, by purposefully withholding information that would sort of set you free. But see, you don't need to rely on that person to set yourself free. You just simply need to decide that maybe it's meaningless. I don't have to give it any meaning. It's an experience I went through. It caused me to go through a certain process of transformation in my life. Certain things happened. Now I see things differently. I dealt with a lot of tricky situations. It made me very resilient. Okay. But you have to understand where you've been feeling that. There's been the mirror. So whoever this individual that's reaching out to you, they now feel like they need to understand. They need to have a sense of meaning to what's happening here. They need to understand how come they don't have access to you like they used to. They need to feel that sense of definition, understanding, control. It's often when we're trying to look for those answers that we sort of elude the avenue that leads us to where the answers truly are. And those answers are just found in the spontaneity of the moment. When you start to get out of the place of needing to define everything to death, and instead you're just like, look, it is what it is. I'm going to just focus on what's showing up on my path. I'm going to deal with it in the moment. I'm going to listen to how my body is responding to what's happening here. If it doesn't feel good, I'm not going to take the bait. I'm not going to ignore what, is firing off in me here. If I feel like when I receive this message, if I respond or if I get involved in this, it's going to put me in a position where I'm hung up again, and then I'm going to feel like a martyr. Well, I don't have to answer that call. I can hang up. Just because somebody asks for answers from me or wants to know what's up doesn't mean I have to tell them. This is really understanding that the person that's coming at you is coming at you in this way because they're coming from an insecure position where they want to have this destabilizing effect on you. They already feel destabilized. And in a way, the two of you are mirroring something to each other here. But if you can get beyond this, and if you can sort of rise above the unconscious aspects of yourself that keep you engaged in this sort of roundabout way of sort of circling the same problem over and over again, kind of the same way a turd circles the toilet bowl. And if you just flush it already, then you're going to be able to just kind of like get a clearer view up ahead. So much can just be cleared from the decks that was holding you back. It doesn't have to be something that causes you to rise to provocation. And in fact, I feel like it's not something that's all that serious either. You know, this seems like sort of like some kind of entrenched battle of egos here. And that's what's acting up in this situation. As long as you don't get looped into that, you're going to be fine here, man. You're going to be fine. Look at that. You got the gravy funnel coming in. This is personal fulfillment here. See, by using your power wisely with the Queen of Clubs here. All right? Wield your power wisely. Don't get caught up in your head, in the prisons of the mind. That's what gets you stuck. That's what blocks your path. All your set ideas about things, beliefs about things, need to go, tit for tat, need to win the argument, need to prove a point. There's no heart in that. And you're trying to get beyond that here, okay, with the Two of Hearts. There's been some separation here. There's something that you need to abandon here in order to come back into alignment with your true path of heart here. The path that isn't being invested in right now. I see that with the Seven of Diamonds. There's a lot of imbalance here with the Six of Diamonds in the shadow. And that's a lot that's going to be highlighted to you with this message that comes in. This message that comes in is really going to let you know that if I continue to sort of like hold space for this or be concerned about this or engage in this, that I'm really investing in what's going to continue to fuel the imbalance. I don't want that anymore. I want to come back onto the path of heart that I got separated from here. Yeah, that's where the reward is. All right, that's where the reward lies. But you've got to be aware of the sabotaging elements here, because that trickster energy is nigh, man, and it can get you caught up and it can get you all caught up in your head. But once you see through the fear, once you call it out for what it is, just this need to exert some sense of control over, over others is what it comes through. Anytime you see somebody trying to control others, that's coming from a place of fear. So when this character comes through, or you have this experience where you get some message coming in, somebody's trying to poke at you and trying to rile you up and trying to get you in that fear space, just remember, there's no need to even have to defend yourself here. There's nothing to ward off. Laugh about it. Embrace the absurdity of it. Because how are you supposed to be afraid of something that already feels so insecure and can't tell their head from their ass? Right? And there's been times that you've been there too. You know what I'm saying? But there's nothing to fear here. There's nothing to fear here. And there's no great mystery or meaning behind it at all. It's just really unconscious, immature parts of the psyche that are trying to clamor for some acknowledgement, validation here. That's what it's about. So handle it the right way, and you'll pass this test of the trickster. And there's some kind of sweet reward on offer. But this is how it's coming through. Any highlighting point you want to put on that? Any highlighting point you want to put on that, Spirit? As some of you are dealing with this with a lover, okay? Lover you've had a falling out with, it's possible with that Two of Cups coming in. There's been some kind of dispute here, though. I see that, right? Yeah. And right on top of that Devil card, we got the Jack of Diamonds coming up in the shadow. All right. So yeah, this has been some real restraining force here that's slowed things down. 44:33 on the clock. Add that up. 77, double 7, 7, 7, 14. Okay. Something can be balanced out here, but you got to figure out how to do it, right? You do have the ability to turn this energy around, all right? But it's only when you work with that medicine of the trickster where you take what is unconscious, you make it conscious, you take full ownership for what you're seeing happen in your life, okay? You don't blame it on other people. You don't focus on what they've done. How am I allowing this energy to stay fixed in my life? And then you'll be able to see the way through. Then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, here comes the gravy train, where I felt like I wasn't getting any sustenance. Everything I need is showing up for me right here. There's something about that right now, really, like you got to take down the borders, you got to break down the boxes, man. Because they're really limitations, really limitations. And if it ain't feeling right to you, you don't need to entertain it. You know, if you get somebody coming at you real nasty, you don't need to hold space for that. You can kind of just, laugh at that and be like, well, bless their heart, I know what it's like to be in that place, where I just feel like, frustrated and maybe, feel like a little insecure, a little unsure, that's what that comes from. That's when we're really called to exercise our higher consciousness and embrace a little Tonglen, breathing in the bullshit, breathing out the blessing. And just, try to have a little bit more space, give others a little more breathing room. And you don't need to respond to provocation. You really don't. There's nothing that says you have to. Okay. All right, let me do a cut of the deck here. Oh, look at that. Discover, learn, and play was on the top of the deck. I didn't even see that, right? So I do feel like whatever's starting to roll out here, whatever's being kicked off here, it does look like it kind of comes in the form, the guise, you could say, of an antagonist. But it rouses the protagonist in you, who's been tempered by some pretty rough stuff here, man. And you're getting just to the final stages of it. I feel like this is the final stage, man. You're about to go through a major transformation here. It's going to change a lot of things for you, but finally, like, there's a reward coming through. But it's sort of like we have to see with that sort of Saturnian energy here with Galaxy Dad. We have to see, did you learn how to embrace a new flow? Got to remember, Saturn's been in Pisces here, okay? Did you learn how to embrace a new kind of flow where you can surf those waves, where you don't have to let your emotions or your reactions or what gets stirred up wash you out to sea, but instead you can sort of just, ride it out and see, why has this disruption come to, show me? Because there's always something that's revealed there. If you can kind of just like write it out, if you don't enter that fray and add more sort of like churning energy to the mix, then things can kind of settle. You can get clarity there. There's something you learn by being very present with it and just writing it out. Whatever it is, there's some kind of reward on offer. It's got like initiation kind of vibes. And I really do feel like that Scorpio full moon is an initiatory full moon. All right, let me do one final cut of the deck here. What do we got? 5 of Clubs, okay? So here it comes. This is going to be a provocation to dive back into some drama, man. Dive back into, what keeps you divided? What keeps you divided in the heart space? What keeps you from your path of heart? And it's your path of heart, right? It's the path that makes you feel like this is where I want to invest my time, my energy. This is the path where I like the view. I like the vibes. I can ease on down this road. So don't step on the path that promises to bring you nothing but, fighting, competition, arguments, bickering the whole way. You don't even need to hold space for this influence, but it does require you to be very discerning here with the King of Spades and know when it's time to cut something off. Know when it's time to cut something off. And that's all about you recognizing the key that unlocks the potential of that 8th house of Scorpio. Because we got the rough side, and then we got the side that, helps you find the way through to a much smoother way forward. When we look at that truth that comes through the initiatory process, moving through that 8th house of Scorpio, we got the side that's all about the hidden and what's cloaked and what's unconscious. And we also got, matters of the occult, and we have things that are taboo and all that stuff that goes bump in the night, right? We have the deaths, we have the rougher edge, but we also have there in tandem the opportunity for rebirth if we do the work, to receive our inheritance, our birthright, to rise up from those ashes like the phoenix. Okay, so it's really about working with this energy, working with those polarities. And the way you find the way through that is by not getting too locked in trying to decipher or gain answers or gain meaning when you're going through an initiatory process through the house of mysteries. It's meant to be a mystery. That's the thing people forget sometimes. Some things are meant to be a mystery. And that's part of the beauty of life, okay? So don't feel like you have to define this. Whatever this is that's coming to visit you, I think you'll pass this rather successfully, actually. It might be a bit of a tower moment. It might be a little rough as you're moving through the dark when you're not quite sure how to find the way through initially. But if you let go, you give yourself over to the process, you're going to pass through this initiation just fine. And then you will activate that worldly potential that the devil card talks about with this goat hoof mudra he's holding up here, where he's saying, all you see is all there is. You see, once you cleanse your view, what is will be much different than what has been.